Hello, good evening, friends. God bless you. I was reading Gospel of John, chapter 17, where Jesus is praying for his disciples. And for me, at least, I found it little strange, where Jesus is saying to or praying about his disciples, say, Father, my disciples are not of this world. But I'm not asking you to take out them out of this world, but just protect them from the evil one. Now, if the disciples are not of this world, where they belong to, and if they are not of this world, then why Jesus is praying for them to remain in this world? You see, Bible is talking about our true identity. Though we are living on this earth, Bible says that we are seated in the heavenly places. So if we have given our life to Jesus, then our position is in heaven, seated with Christ. But then why Jesus is praying for his disciples to remain in this world? You see, God has plan and purpose for your life and my life, and that is a very specific plan and purpose. And God is intended to fulfill his plan and purpose in our life. We are not an accident. We are not randomly born on this earth. There is a divine plan and purpose. And to understand this whole complex situation where we have to remain in this world to fulfill God's plan and purpose, I have to look more passages. And God showed me a couple of things that I never paid attention to. Let's take a story of Abraham and Sarah and Hagar. When Sarah was not getting children or getting pregnant, she gave Hagar, her servant, to Abraham, and Hagar became pregnant, and she got hard times from Sarah, and she started running away from Sarah to go to Shur. On the way, she encountered God, and God told him that, Hagar, here is the thing. I'm going to bless you. I'm going to give you a son. But you have to go back to Sarah. You have to go there and submit and live there. And always I wondered that why Hagar went back to the place where she is being tormented. What is the plan and purpose? Sometimes God brings us to the position where we have nothing left except God. We have nothing left. Everything is gone except God. And Hagar is in a situation where she has nothing. She was a slave from birth. She was a slave. There was no name. Even everybody referred to her as a slave. Only God acknowledged her by her name, Hagar. But God says that I'm going to bless you. Your son will be wild donkey. Now, God could have said that your son would be mighty, your son would be powerful, your son would be handsome. But God used the wild donkey. Why? Why God used the word wild donkey? Because Hagar was a slave from the beginning. But God gave her a promise that your son will not be like a slave like you, because donkey always carry the burden, like Hagar was carrying a burden throughout her life. But God said that your son will not be a slave. Wild donkey are free. And God said that your son will be free from the birth. He will not be a slave. And we later find out that Ishmael must have some special place in Abraham's heart, because when God says that, Abraham, I'm going to give you a son, Abraham asked that, God, if Ishmael lives and be blessed, that's enough for me. Ishmael is enough for me. That means Ishmael was not a slave. Ishmael had a special place in Abraham's heart. What God said, God promised or give a promise and a hope to Hagar that I am going to bless you with a son who will not be a slave. And that promise was enough for her to go back. You see, to understand God's plan, sometimes we have to let our reasoning go. We are trying to understand everything. We are trying to find a reason for every situation in our life. But if we wanted to see the miraculous working power of God in our life, we have to let the reasoning go. Hagar let it go. She did not ask why I have to go back, but she trusted God. And later on, if you read Genesis 25, Ishmael had 12 sons. Can you believe that? Jacob had 12 sons, which we call the 12 tribes of Israel. But Ishmael also, if you read Genesis chapter 25, Ishmael himself had 12 sons. So God kept him free. Not only that, God blessed him with 12 sons. Look at Isaac's story. When there was famine everywhere, Isaac became so rich, so wealthy, that the king Abimelech has to tell Isaac that you have become so powerful, so rich, so please leave this place. Even there was a famine all around, Isaac became so rich. Even Hagar was living as a place where she was not welcome. She got a son, Ishmael. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, even they were standing in a burning furnace. They were free. When Daniel was in lion's den, he was free. When the storm arose in the sea, Jesus was able to sleep. So our understanding of freedom or is the absence of storms or troubles. God's true freedom is in the middle of storms and troubles, we have a victory. We walk. We have a victory. Our starting point is a victory. And God has given us authority and power to heal the sick, brokenhearted, and preach the gospel. God has brought you and me in this time, in this generation, here, not to shield or keep away from all the troubles, but God wants to experience us, His presence, His provisions, His freedom, and everything He can give it to us. We are free. We are free. And that is a promise and hope, because God is with us. Paul and Silas were beaten and they were in chains, but they were singing hymns. Basically, they were free. Nobody can bound them. So God has called you and me for an amazing journey. I hope God has blessed you tonight. Thank you.